Hello you guys, so today I'm going to show you how to make my brown butter caramel popcorn cake. This cake is so fantastic guys, so moist, it has such an intense caramel flavor. If you are a caramel lover, you need this cake in your life guys. You need to make this as soon as possible. We're going to be decorating the top with some homemade caramel corn, which I'll also show you how to make in this video. It's so crunchy. And so delicious. That being said, let's get started and let's make this. Okay, you guys, before we make the actual cake, we need to make the brown butter. The brown butter is what will give this cake that nutty popcorn flavor. I decided to not add real popcorn to the batter. One, you don't taste it. Secondly, no one wants a soggy popcorn cake, okay? So the best way to recreate that popcorn flavor is with brown butter. All I've done is added butter to a saucepan, put that over medium heat, let it come to boil, and you'll know it's ready when the milk solids will become slightly brown, the mixture will darken in color, and the butter will have the most amazing nutty aroma. Turn off your stove or this will burn, and this is done. Transfer it into a bowl. You have two options here. You can either strain this or leave it as is. I don't like to strain the milk solids because they add great flavor. Okay, so set this aside and let's make the cake. In my bowl, I have some oil. You can't see it, but it's there. You're going to add the brown butter, which has cooled and become soft butter again. You'll also need some caramel. This is just liquid caramelized sugar. Only 2 ingredients. I've shown you how to make this. This stuff is amazing. I'll leave it in the description box for you guys. If you're using store-bought, just make sure it's pure, real caramel, pure sugar, and not mixed with heavy cream, butter, you know, all that stuff. You want pure caramelized sugar. So mix these together. And if you're enjoying this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up for me. And if you're new, hit subscribe. Okay, so add the eggs one at a time. I'm using 4 eggs today because my eggs are quite small, but the recipe to follow, guys, is in fact the one written in the description box. So you do need 3 medium to large eggs. Once those are all mixed in, you can add your milk and the dry ingredients, which I have previously sifted or mixed just until the batter comes together. You don't want to overmix. And you're going to divide your cake between 2 or 3 cake pans, which have been greased, floured, and lined with parchment paper. And you're going to bake these in a preheated oven at 180 degrees Celsius or 350 Fahrenheit for around 20 to 24 minutes. Check the cakes with a toothpick. If it's clean, they're ready. Let these cool for about 5 minutes in their pans and then take them out and let these cool completely. To make the caramel popcorn to garnish the cake or just to munch on, you'll need some popped popcorn. You want to put that in a tall saucepan, and you'll see why in just a moment. In another saucepan, you're going to add some butter, brown sugar, and honey. I like to use honey. I really like its flavor for this recipe, but you can use just all brown sugar. You want this to melt completely, let it come to boil, cook it for about 2 minutes, and then go ahead and add the salt and baking soda. Once you add those, this mixture will rise and lighten in color, so be careful. Turn off your stove. This is done. You're going to add this to your popcorn, and this is why you need a tall saucepan, guys. It's just safer, and you know, it's easier to mix everything together. Now, do not worry if you can't mix your popcorn completely with the caramel, because we are going to transfer this mixture onto a baking tray lined with parchment paper, and we're going to bake this at 130 degrees Celsius or 260 Fahrenheit for about 30 minutes. And halfway through baking, you're going to give this a good stir. That way the caramel coats the popcorn completely and everything bakes evenly. Okay, so when you take this out of the oven, this needs to cool completely. Don't touch it. Leave it as is. This needs to harden completely. Okay, so once it has cooled, you can break it up into big pieces or small pieces. I personally love Huge pieces of caramel corn. I think that's what makes the difference between store-bought and, homemade, because the store-bought, you get these little tiny kernels of popcorn, whereas if you make it at home, you can break this up into large chunks, guys. So good. The frosting I'm using in this video is a new one, so make sure you come back on Friday to get the recipe for this delicious frosting, which I will leave anyway a link to in the description box once I do post the recipe. Now let's talk for a moment, okay? What you can do is between each layer of cake and frosting is drizzle some caramel sauce. It's delicious. I personally think it's a little too much, but if you want to add extra caramel, go ahead and do that, of course. What would also be so lovely here are some salted peanuts, or any salted nuts really, guys, would work really well with this cake. I'm just giving you guys options, but this cake is so perfectly delicious as is. I'm going to show you how to make a really nice presentation for this cake. Add some caramel onto one side of the cake. I actually mixed mine with some white chocolate ganache. That way it would stand out more, but you don't have to do that. And scatter your popcorn onto the cake. The big clusters look so good here, but I like to alternate between big, and small chunks of popcorn. I think this looks so beautiful, so modern. The flavor combination of this cake is just amazing. It's nutty, and you get a really strong caramel flavor, which is just fantastic. And let's just appreciate, guys, the crumb of this cake for a moment. It's so tender, so soft, so good.